on.
Okay. Hey, gentlemen, can I run? And George, would you mind? I have a 10 o'clock and I have my 2 o'clock. So the bottom line is I can't meet for another 2 weeks. Can I bring that one subject up I wanted to bring up, George, or not?
Please.
I would
100%.
So thank you, George. I appreciate that. So, gentlemen, I would really like your opinion on this. So I'm working with the junk business, and one way we're looking at scaling this thing, it's about $1 million junk removal business, and we're looking to scale this thing. And so they met with one of the top franchisees of college hunks moving junk or whatever that is. And the way that they do it, and I'm looking at offering this for like a coaching part for people that have trucks, is instead of paying Joe $20, let's say there's 3 guys on a truck, instead of paying, Joe the lead 25 and everybody else $20 an hour, whatever it happens to be, is the truck becomes its own profit center. So now everybody can make $20, $30, $40 an hour because it's all based on commission. And so the thought there is, okay, everybody's going to be making more money. You're not going to have to babysit them. And if they go to lunch, basically that's on their own dime. And what we'll also do is if you have 2 of the people working at, let's say, $35 an hour pace, and you have somebody working at, let's say, $10 an hour pace, it's going to get rid of the problem will more or less take care of itself. They're going to more or less move that person out. So then you can scale the HVAC business, plumbing, whatever, in this case, junk business. And so I'm looking at deciding, is that maybe a good avenue to go down, since everybody has the problem of trying to find and keep good employees. And that way you're not competing with, hey, I can go next door and get an extra 50 cents an hour, and back and forth, because then it's a no-win situation.
Yeah.
So I would like so I asked George if I would really like your all's opinion about that process.
So I have a question. What was your name again? I apologize. It says the
Bob.
Catalyst. Bob. So let me understand what I think I heard you said. You're saying that you're going to make almost every truck a profit center, and you're going to measure the profitability of that truck based on its costs of operation, which are the 3 people that work on it, plus other costs, right, like fuel and what have you. And so you're going to measure their profit, the truck's profitability periodically. And then the folks that are running it, they get some type of percentage of that profit. Am I stating that correctly?
No, they get straight commission.
What do you mean by commission? How does that work?
I mean, so let's say the job costs, to move all this junk, it's going to be $700. And so instead of getting $20 an hour, and I'm not sure what that commission is, we're working on that now, but they get a commission. So instead of doing, let's say, 3 jobs in a day, they may do 4 or 5.
Oh, okay. So they get a percentage of the revenue they're generating.
Precisely. So then it's going to make them more. Are we up front or back? It's going to make them more efficient because they know it's on their dime. I mean, they're going to want to be more efficient. They're going to be more productive. They're not going to want to take time off. You're not going to have to babysit them.
The only thing I would add to that, I hear what you're saying. The only concern I would have is that, are they taking shortcuts on jobs just to get to the next one? And will they sacrifice quality in order to get quantity?
Well, one of the things, so good point. So one of their matrix is Google reviews.
Okay.
So, I mean, that is part of their matrix. So, I mean, is it going to cover all that? No, but it's going to, it's going to win, they're going to want to get their full commission. They need to have a good positive Google review.
What are you trying to solve for again? What's the why?
I'm trying to solve for the problem of, hey, we can't find people to work. We can't keep people to work. So instead of making $20 an hour, these guys, we haven't figured out, these junk removal guys out of high school can make $50,000 a year, which is a lot of money to a high school STEAM graduate. So our whole goal is, hey, let's keep them and pay them well. And that way they're not going to run away, you know. So that's all is the manpower.
You know, one of the things we hadn't discussed, Bob, so they have a retention issue. How do we also solve? So participating in the profitability.
I'm sorry, I'm getting out of here in just a second.
So focusing on the profitability of each truck is very cool. And we have a retention issue. So might there also be a, hey, and if you've been if you've been with us for career advancement, right? We're going to provide some training, professional development. If you're here for 3 years, there's a stay bonus. Those types of, I don't know what that would look like. I'm just tossing ideas out, but it's an interesting concept.
So, I'm just trying to think of, because there's such times you hear of people saying, hey, I can't find good people. I can't keep good people.
Yeah,
this way they're making really good money. And it leaves you less work.
Straight to people productive and loyal, right?
Right.
With a customer sat element as well. And a recurring revenue probably element. Yeah.
So you get some inherent, think about when we had Domino's and it was 30 minutes or less type thing. What worries me, and I was in industry with had environmental contracting work business, so we were dealing with a lot of equipment over the road, vehicles moving. I think we had 8 pickup trucks with service vehicles, and one of the things that you run into is the speed in which people are moving from one to another. So if you look at the model around HVAC work is really good parallel, even though there's a technical part of it. They're entering people's homes, right? They're got to be, in the junk world, you are having significant customer interface. I don't know for sure that the Google thing is going to be the end all be all. And so you're really relying heavily on referrals going forward into, other people. So I'm a little concerned that this becomes such a, get to the next job without, maybe dusting up or cleaning up, or there are some back end final finish that should probably be a factor in how they get measured from a quality perspective. There's a QA QC part of it that may be ignored and overridden by the drive to get commission. That's the only thing. And typically at that technical level, and not a very high technical level, you're going to be a hard time keeping those guys around for a while. They're going to show up, may or may not, be showered for the day. They may have some latent issues related to, offensiveness as they show up in the person's house. So it's not like you're going into an industrial facility and you got a little less. You have a pretty strong customer interface there that I would be concerned about from a QA QC perspective, strictly on the commission. I'm not sure that you're solving the problem centered around retention. I don't know that it's about more money oftentimes, but I could be wrong. But based on my experience of running a business for 15 years in that interface piece, first of all, stay away from consumer direct work. But if you have to, be worried about how your technicians show up, and even just the identification, right? So identify myself as the junk guy, whatever, and because when people feel very uncomfortable introducing somebody weird, different, they're showing up and may or may not have washed the truck before, may not have shown up, showered.
Joe, those are great points, man. And I've seen those solved with checklists, right? You will wear the company shirt. You will have done all the things on this checklist. And we are sending you, we have an app, right? You can build it for small dollars, and we will have texted the app to the customer, and the customer is going to fill out, did they show up on time? Those check marks,
Yeah.
Joe, you're bringing up some really good points.
I don't mean to be disparaging. It just
no,
Well, no, so Joe, that was one of the reasons we brought the Google review up. That's part of the matrix.
Yeah.
Is, so I mean, that was, because you're right, that is a concern. And so if you're asking for a Google review and somebody's not happy, that's part of the matrix to get the full commission.
Well, and you can also put in referral programs. We'll send you $100 gift card. You refer us to someone who buys our services, and we'll send you $100 gift card.
So, but that is precisely the reason I'm asking this to you guys. Is I think it's a good idea, but again, I only have this, this vision that I have, and that getting your perspective really helps.
Carrot's always better than the stick.
Yeah, right, man.
Carrot's always better than stick.
So do you think this is so what I would like from you all is, first of all, do you think it's a good way? Because I'm just thinking that there's such a need out there to be able to just go to HVAC companies, go to plumbing, go to electrical, whatever it happens to be, but in essence, work in that niche. First of all, do you think that's a good idea to work with that kind of concept?
What's interesting, guys, I'm sorry, I'm not going to jump in. Yeah. Larry,
so
David, Mike?
In Columbus, I'm working with an HVAC contractor, one of the largest in the city, probably. And they're, that's that whole balance between, do you commission the technician to somehow, sell a new furnace, right? And there's just that whole shadiness associated with that, or the belief that, the cat toy, they use a local commercial cat toy got stuck in and there's no way it would be able to be there, but it's, they decided they need a new furnace. So there is that other element of the referrals and, that can run a ruck. Now, seeing in what your question is, you have this system and you were going to bring to the service providers? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
doing?
I'm just trying to figure out, do you think it would be, since there's such a need for this, do you think that would be a good niche, to say, hey, we have this, everybody's going to have a different system, but here's the basic way that the system works.
They've already figured that out. They've already figured that out. I don't.
Okay.
I don't mean to be. I don't mean to be. But
I'm going to be contrarian to Joe. I love the idea because if I think of it from the perspective of almost a partnership model, right? And even though this is not a partnership with a capital P, but you're actually making them partners in a way in the business, and saying, "Hey guys, here's your truck, here's your T-shirts." And this is one place, it seems to me, and I'd love everyone's feedback. That's a perfect place for a facilitated session with the right stakeholders inside the business to say, "Okay, guys, here's an idea. How might is it viable? And what would it need to look like to be successful? And can we implement it?" And if you have that facilitated session, then you have everyone's perspective and buy-in, and you've brought the power of the group, right? We're going to have Tina Corner-Stoltz on as a guest on the podcast, the power of the group, bringing their wisdom to the table. I mean, that's the power of the group, is the juice that EOS uses to help businesses change. Might that work here? I can't help but wonder. That's one man's perspective.
Because my other thought on that, gentleman, is, and George, it sure be nice to have some women. But anyhow,
I asked, well, it's a problem for our industry, right? It's a problem for our industry. I will tell you, let me comment on that. I'm trying hard to develop a relationship with an outfit on the West Coast that promotes women. And then I have a good friend, sort of a family member who works with, she was the CEO of a bunch of brands you would recognize, and she works with. So I'm trying to get to attract more women into our industry, because their perspective is not only important, but so needed in these conversations, making a vast organization that, I'm sorry if it sounds sexist, but it is a talk about collaborative accountability and
well, on that one, George, Kathy's going to be joining us in a
Okay.
couple weeks.
Awesome.
So we will at least have one woman perspective.
Well, I'm going to kick Anna's butt and you know, there are women in our community. They're just not coming to the coffee Klatsch.
Okay. But anyhow, so my other thought to this whole thing, and I'm going to have to leave here shortly because I have a 10 o'clock meeting, is it's going to cut down on people saying, hey, I could do my own truck. Because, I mean, how many people, you know, say I could go, you know, fix this pipe or do whatever it happens to be. And so if they got their own truck and they're making not $20 an hour, but they're making $30 or $35 an hour, you know, these are just some thoughts that have gone through my head.
Yeah, and man, keeping that customer satisfaction and making sure you have a very carefully defined customer satisfaction metric, so that these guys, I mean, the end of the day, they need to delight the customer. Delighting the customer would be good for everyone. But Joe has 15 years of real world experience in this area that I personally don't have. So let's keep this case.
There's just there's some really good resources out there that I keep on searching for that specific niche, because I think that I don't know that that's a fresh of a idea that it's already out there. I don't know. The college chunk, you said that is that who you're working with?
Well, no, they met with a guy that had sold his franchise. So these guys are independent, but that's who they dealt with. And that's the way the college hunks and the 1-800 got junk. That's the way they work.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Just to put some rails on it and give it a whirl. It doesn't sound like it's a whole lot of expense other than maybe a couple of service vehicles. And, you know, I don't think you'd have much into it.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just asking, what I'm trying to do is take this out to the industries and say, hey, you know, Joe, you know, if you got a HVAC company, we have an idea, and take it out as a kind of a coaching part. That's really what I'm looking to expand, you know. So we take Growth Drive and say, hey, you know, this is one way that we've worked with HVAC companies, plumbing companies, whatever that happens to be.
You know,
that's really what we're looking for.
Bob, you know, I just had a thought, and I'm thinking of a different business case. Imagine that these guys, that your client develops a really powerful marketing plan. How great would it be to be able, they could apply to themselves, and they might also go to competitors and say, listen, are you tired of competing? You know, we're all trying to steal each other's lunch money. We have a marketing engine. Your truck is its own profit center. Join us, wear our shirt. You can be an independent contractor for us. And here's the rev share. You know, here's how we're going to make this worth your while. So it could be, I haven't modeled it out, but it might be that the expenses that these other people don't have might be sufficient to make them say, you know what? I like that. I'm tired of you know, scrambling, of marketing. You know, you bring me the jobs, I'll execute them, and we'll share the wins. And that model has worked incredibly well for the case I'm thinking of was a roofing company, and this roofer got smart, and he started saying, hey guys, listen, I'm on the radio, I'm in the newspaper, I'm attracting a ton of work. Aren't you tired of busting your do you want to put on roofs, or do you want to drive around asking people for their business? And if you want to put on roofs and make a good living and have a 401k and health insurance, then you should call me. And his business exploded. He is the dude in that market. It's about 1 million, and that's a little smaller than that, sub-million metropolitan statistical area, and million people. And he's crushing it. He's gotten into mold mitigation, water mitigation. His name and trucks are everywhere. And he started as a guy with a good idea and a well-performed roofing company. So just a food for thought.
Okay, so you know, here's what I would like from the group. I would like to work with Kathy and I to kind of help kind of somebody be our accountability partner, kind of work this out. It's because I don't know what I don't know, because we're just kind of getting into this. It would be helpful to have somebody say, hey, I'll kind of be somebody be our accountability partner and help us kind of walk through this. Because I like the idea, but you've got so many avenues to go through. The question is, which one do you do?
Bob, I have two people you should talk to. At least one of them is a member of the community, and he specializes in contractors. And the other guy is a phone call away. I know him quite well. He's not in the Growth Drive community yet, but I'd be happy to make those connections. And you could post in Circle. Hey, I don't know if someone here wants to. This is a great idea.
Okay, so I will leave it out there. George, if you could send me that name or names, I'd appreciate that, and I will post it in Circle, but I would really appreciate that.
Yeah. And if anybody here, I'm not trying to step on the toes of anybody on this call right now. I'm just a share bear.
Hey, Bob, it's Larry. I know we talked about this past week and we had a good discussion. Some thoughts on it. This is very entrepreneurial. And so there's that risk component, and trying an N of one, there's a lot of learning. So you could take a long time to figure out, is this right, wrong? But that entrepreneurial spirit of say, hey, we're good enough. We got enough of this figured out. We're going to learn along the way. Let's try it and see. With that, I think, Joe, you were mentioning earlier, and I had to step out for 5 minutes, but the metrics, how do you measure this? And so in advance, what would good look like? And so that you can map that out. And maybe you all went over that already, and put it in writing. And I think this group can respond in Circle or even on this group. Here's how I see it. Because discussion is good, but writing then solidifies and coalesces a lot of thoughts. So put something in writing, and I think we could respond to it as a follow-up as well. Last thought, there's a big difference between, and I thought about this after we spoke last week, Bob, doing this at the electrician level, the plumber level, that certified high-level professional level, and the delivery or the junk level, where you don't need that same skill level. And having a client, a very large Habitat for Humanity restore as a client, third largest restore in the country, they do a lot of delivery. And they couldn't get a darn delivery driver hired, even if they raised the rates a little bit, the pay a little bit. So what we really did was change what the job looked like, and the pool of candidates increased for the same job. And we moved it from delivery and pickup to customer service, and created that customer interface type of role for it. Happened to be driving a truck to do that. And it changed the pool of candidates. And now they're in a better position with people who are more committed to the job and who feel differently about it. Now, they had to pay a little bit more to do that. But that's a part of it, is how do you approach the market to do the hiring and in position.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I got to go. I got a 10 o'clock, so I'm right here at the front door, so I'm going to go in. But George, thanks for letting me cut in like this. I really appreciate that.
Wow, that's what this is about, man. A pleasure. Thank you. Keep us brief.
Thank you, gentlemen. And
right.
I look forward to hearing from you, George. Another. Bye. Bye-bye.
Slay the dragons. Bye.
Wow. All right, then.
Okay, David's got to run. David, great to see you.
I had a meeting. Ed and I met with a prospect yesterday, long time client. I put in EOS in his one of his businesses. He's got another one that we're approaching, and I had a question around a referral. He's looking for a referral of somebody he's early 50s, just cash flowing the heck out of this business. I think it's like $2.5 million free cash flow annually, and a bit of an autopilot thing going on, but he'd love to. I think at the end of the day, we talked about maybe he's got multiple companies and creating a family, what do we call it? Family business, family
Family office.
Office, And we're looking for a referral or reference of somebody that's used Growth Drive as a way to manage this. And I don't currently have one of those clients. And I guess I was going to put it in a circle, but any recommendations of how to gather potential couple referrals related to the Growth Drive product? We're pitching the Clarity 2 right now, and then the offering of that report, and help him in decision making with his team.
And you're looking for a referral, Joe. I want to be about the applicability to a family office, or just general client feedback, what it's like to work.
Well, it's just that he, feels like he's pretty young. He doesn't want to exit, right? He's having too much fun. This isn't an exit conversation. This is a make your business better. Let's continue to grow. And, he's kind of satisfied where he's in. Why change? Why, he's open-minded to a conversation around that. So if someone had experienced that with a client, especially, I think the age is sort of important for him at 51, 52. So
you're looking for a referral from a client, some clients to say, hey, this is this.
Yeah, just a good hand. We worked with, ABC Consulting, and that John did a great job. He used this, because we're just still building our backlog, building our experience. So we don't have any direct experience with this. So, as I said, it's a 20-year client. So they need to validate. I'm moving into this new world called, Growth Drive Consulting, but I don't have any, specific referrals for that. So we're just looking for that. Maybe that's just an offline conversation. That's why I booked time with you, George. So that's all I got. Unless anybody else has some feedback right now.
We certainly have plenty of cases. I'm sure we'll be able to hook you up.
Yeah, I think we just pull a couple cases together. So I booked time with George as a way to follow up on this.
Okay.
Anybody?
Joe, I'm just thrown because you have an office. I thought you lived and worked out of your car.
Yeah, well, I'm heading to meet Ed. We got a COI meeting here, and we're going to do a dry run on a presentation for a bank here. But yeah, so happen to be in the office. I'm getting ready to jump in the car here in a few minutes, but it's
what was, I missed the very beginning part, the industry or business type?
It's a service industry. They're doing it's a technical piece on around gas stations. So they represent a technical piece to that, keep them compliance driven activities. So 150 employees, just a bunch of $500 to $1,000 invoice days.
Right.
And been around for 20 years, and we're just trying to move him to a new level of delegate and elevate, and multiple businesses, helping his son create a new industry. So it was just that serial entrepreneur that's kind of like how do they? My vision is that each of them he'd have a database pulled together on one business and another, and they'd be able to drive and use this tool as a lever against the leadership wherever they were, their development, right? So some of the business that he has are much more developed. I think collectively it's like $50 million of business. So, so there's, level of sophistication in each vertical. They're completely different, isolated silos from a business perspective. So other than one common owner. So to think about those people with those multiple industries, multiple businesses, how can they be on it from a strategic lever perspective but only to use someone like our tool to come in and, today he's gonna open up that case file for the results from Clarity 2 to interact with this vertical, and then tomorrow it's interact with that vertical and keep it all straight. That's my vision for him. So if we have someone who's been able to do that, that'd be a great referral source to just talk about multiple business, multiple Clarity assessments being done in order to manage all the different strategic silos. Does that make sense?
Right.
I had about a $80 million client, family-owned business. He had 3 separate business areas, and then he had the corporate overhead kind of thing. And for him, we did, just with him, we did 3 different Clarity reviews on each of the business, but it was difficult because of this corporate thing. And of course, like a lot of business owners, he thought he was better in some areas than he really was. And it was difficult for him to really separate, how good were the financials when there was one corporate thing doing the financials for all 3 businesses, and they were using a contract CFO part-time for all 3 businesses.
Okay.
But it was worthwhile to see if there were some differences, and he ended up selling one of the businesses to a strategic because he didn't like that business.
Yeah, and that's an exit. So if you look at the family office model, that's exactly what you're able to do, right? You're supposed to be able to put in these levels of management in place that they can be somewhat interchangeable depending on over a period of time where they're trying to invest their money, right? So that's a very mature evolution for this state, but he definitely believes that he can move there with a couple of his sons, very young, early 20s, potentially getting into the business, but certainly not there. So, and he's also reminded all of his people that have gotten out of their businesses, and now they're coming to him asking for jobs. So he's like, I don't want to be that guy that leaves the business too early. I'm having too much fun, right? So it's the mid 50s. I got plenty of runway, and that's where we're like, well, if you get a Clarity tool like a Clarity to really help force your people. I mean, he's killing it, right? So why would I want to have stress in my life to go any better? Well, what about trying to leave a better, getting less involved in your business?
Yeah.
And so it takes a while for a young man, say young, I'm 60, but to think through what life would be like if I had more time. So as I said,
he's inflection point. Right?
He's looking for somebody that's gone through it, and that sounds like a good idea, Paul. Just as validating the Clarity tool, the application on multi-silo businesses that and you got multiple management teams. You're trying to push at different levels. Some of them are mature, some of them are less mature. It just depends. You wouldn't use a certain percentage of the report on a younger, less mature management group, because obviously you haven't evolved into the 3rd dimension, for instance. We're still working on trying to get darn thing profitable, whatever. So okay, well, Paul, if you don't, maybe you can
Joe, you mentioned
comfortable. I can I'll reach out to you a little more. I'll send a note to you, kind of explain background, and then if you feel comfortable, then we can maybe make the connection. Okay.
Never hurts to talk.
All right.
Joe, real quick, he has a son in the business.
They're not in this business yet. His belief he's going to start a couple other businesses. That's where that office play, because then the office can borrow money from the entity can borrow money from the family office and support those new initiatives from the sons, and don't straddle them with the belief that they're gonna, stand up to dad's shadow, right? And that's a real I was
If he
there.
wants transparency into how the new businesses are doing, then a tool like Clarity and using business flow is the business flow flash report is going to boil it might be helpful.
Yeah, and he bought. I mean, I've installed EOS with one of his partner companies, and so I mean, he understands. He's going to L10 meetings, and he really, sold on it. It's just taking it the next level, next step, next logical step.
Tell them they balled up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the input.
I'm 7 minutes, guys. I got to leave it at 10:15.
So, George, what's the, can you give us an update on the status of the software?
Sure. So we have, we added a little, the ability to export your Clarity Level 1 data as a CSV. You'll see that button in your dashboard. So if you open up a business, you'll see it right up there in the corner. The guys are fine-tuning the pagination. It turns, so when you go to print a report, it turns out it has to do, we're interacting with the resolutions, what you have set on your machine. So we're trying to strong arm that. And we're getting it done. The HubSpot API will be released. We're in testing mode, so it works. It works at my level, at the admin level. So now we're deploying it, and we're testing the heck out of deploying it at your level, at the admin, at the organization level, at the firm level. And what that means is that when someone fills out the Clarity lead gen survey, they get an email of their report, you get an email of their report, and it creates, if you have a HubSpot account, and by the way, this is available with the free level of HubSpot, it will create a record in your CRM. So imagine, and I'll repeat, being able to then, depending on how deeply you start working with a tool like HubSpot, and we can replicate this for other engines. It's an API. Imagine being able to start a drip campaign to invite them to webinars. You're putting them on a list, and you can start doing a lot of things. So just adding a level of ease and automation, but automation that can help you leverage your time, right? So if you automatically start sending articles, videos, whatever, what have you, other resources, not whatever, other important resources, you will have started to warm them up, because we're trying to drive them to saying, hey, Mike, I think I might want to meet. So that's HubSpot. We are working on automating the senior leadership alignment report. And we have, for now, we have the capability to CSV level 2. However, however, we are looking at a better way to help you, because you can imagine how many columns you end up with. I want to make sure that this is delivering something that is useful and usable, not just a capability on a checklist.
So George, what does CSV stand for?
Comma separated values.
So basically you'll be able to export it to Excel.
Okay,
and think about everything that opens up. Well, you could upload it. You could, if you wanted to, you could in I think a couple hours, you could create fields and you could upload this information into HubSpot, right? You could create records. We're going to see, you guys always come up with the most fantastic ideas. Now, we are also working on the project management module. And so that's going on. And I'm very excited about Execute, which is a guidance module. Right now, guys, it is a checklist. We are now moving the checklist into Clarity and rolling some artificial intelligence on top of it. So we're talking about a very powerful module that allows you to say, here, let me pull this up for a sec. What should I show you? Yeah, this is probably the easiest way to do it. So bear with me one sec. All right. And make this a size that everyone can see. Maybe that's too big. Or maybe it isn't. There. Yes, it is. Okay. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'll give you a quick feel for what this looks like. So we're on Zoom, share. This is something you're really not supposed to do, and I don't care. I want you guys to know it's coming because the feedback that you give me is incredibly valuable. So we're in dimension 1 in the first growth driving OKR. And the first key result, here's the objective, right? We all recognize them. Here's the key result, the shareholders. We're trying to build an effective senior leadership team. Again, for those of you who are uninitiated, these are gears in the business engine. So if you look at this list and say, yeah, but trust me, it is dealt with somewhere else. None of these guys, what do we got? 100 years of experience, more than 200 years of experience here. No one's come back and said, you didn't think about. So the shareholders written time-bound goals for the business, which are shared with the senior leadership team. Cool. What are we going to do? How do we make that a reality, right? We have the why. I want to create predictable profits and cash flow. We have the what, the effective senior leadership team, and now we need the how. Okay. You're going to hold a meeting or workshop with the shareholders to establish business goals. These can be revenue, transferable value, or something else. Assign an attainment date and share these with the senior leadership team. I know that that's implied by the question, but as we get deeper into the methodology, into the OKRs, it becomes less evident. I'm just going to tease out succession plan because we're starting to plug in Growth Drive as a platform. Clarity is a platform SaaS. So the business has a succession plan for each senior leader. We're going to identify covered members, document accountabilities, identify external and internal succession candidates, right? It could be that you don't have someone in the company who can replace the CFO, what have you. By role and accountabilities. Now, by defining the accountabilities, this goes to people productive and loyal. Larry, this goes to function mapping. The next evolution of the org chart. And Larry, is function mapping your trademark?
Yes.
Okay. Function mapping, TM, courtesy, Larry Prince leadership. Thank you, Larry. I will have to TM it in here because I know we use the word, and I'll make sure that that's done with a footnote. Okay. Or I can use a different term.
I think my term is actually the trademark is function map.
Oh,
Mapping, which would be a process, which is both what I do.
Yeah. Well, I love it. It's but we're going to you will have these hows. And guys, if you look at them, there's me, a lot of work goes into coming up with them and then comparing them to each other and juggling, over 100 balls in the air and making sure that they agree and are coordinated. This I love. I actually and personally have a crush on this, and because I'm working on a case with this exact issue. And how do we document the CEO's accountabilities? Like, okay, create decision-making protocols. So if I am out of the country or I'm incapacitated in some way, I've written my policies for how I want decisions made as the CEO. And now I need to empower my senior leadership team to meet them. And then we're going to practice them. And this is something that the military does very, very well. Right. The colonel just got blown to cinders. She is out of the battle. What are you going to do? That is something that, and by the way, this is something that very sophisticated, the publics also do at a certain level, right? We need to, let's get there's everything right with middle market and pre-middle market businesses doing it. Okay, now you will have the ability to add notes next to these. Here's what we did. Each one right now is 2,000 characters. I can make it 10,000. We just set her to 2,000 characters. And the AI we're going to bring AI to the table to say, okay, we're looking at this case, at this business with these characteristics. What does the world, go and search the internet and give us some additional ideas, right? And that's where we're going to bring AI to the table. And what would KPIs for this case look like? All right. So these are general and would apply to any business. Your notes are yours. And now imagine that there is resources are generated like, well, how the heck am I going to, okay, where should I look? Well, you can put it in AI, help yourself, or we are hooking an AI engine up to this. So very, very cool.
So what is this called, George? What is this?
This is called Execute. I was so excited about it. I called it guidance. I got guidance. I'm like, well, wait a second. We talking about analyze, design, execute. And this is this feathers in with the execute, right? Go ahead.
You passed your hard stop, George.
Yeah, George.
Okay. Yeah.
The other day, I bump into a guy and we started talking. He's a business owner and I just chatting and he brings up EOS. Continuation from last week's comment. He goes, I'm frustrated with them. Why? He goes, every time we have a question about how we do something, what we should do, they have no answer and they won't answer. We don't do that. All they did is provide for me a structure and a process, but we're no better off because we don't know how to do and what we actually specifically do. So as a differentiator, and I know, Mike, you've asked this question, and Bob, who's off now, has asked this question, what are the specifics? They're the specifics that we provide, right? And so the questions in Clarity 1 and 2, and that's Clarity 2-level questions, become the how do you do something, best practices that become the tactics on Execute. Yeah. Really great thread. And I'm glad you're taking it to the next level, George.
Yeah, thank you.
So, George, when do you anticipate this all? I mean, I keep asking this question. I apologize for being a parrot, but
you're holding my feet to the fire, man.
Yeah. So when is this all going to be wrapped up in a nice bow and ready to go?
So, I mean, in terms of you being able to use it, I can help you use it with a client today. You'd be doing it manually. Okay. But it's available as a checklist right now. And then implement it into the software. We have a schedule and we're hitting our dates. And then once it's all done, we have a benchmarking play that is also we're working on behind the scenes that is going to be. But first, I need to ink the deal with the business, and they are rabidly excited. So
I'm sorry, I missed that. When you say benchmarking, is this financial benchmarking?
This is benchmarking by industry. Hey, let's think about this most simple. Oh, okay, you've got you're reporting 12 points of margin. And did you know for businesses in your industry at your Stripe, you should be at 16. That type of, there's a very simple example. As we develop our data, of course, we will be able to do this for ourselves. And well, I'll just leave it there. But
no, I'm sorry. So you're going to integrate some type of financial benchmarking into the system.
I want to be careful of sort of operational benchmarking, but we're going out and looking at the industry and saying, okay, what would our first pass be on benchmarking? Revenue per employee, profitability, velocity. There are so many. If we tracked 5 key ratios, how do you compare on these 5 key ratios to the world? And so we end up with, let's call it 7 or 8 benchmark points. As we cross over as we cross over 1,000, and we're headed there, guys, as we cross over 1,000 analyses, which we'll get to pretty quickly. I'm really late. We are going to be able to benchmark against the world. And then as we continue to evolve our data, we're going to be able to benchmark internally. So the power of the data that you are generating, when I say growing this community is very good for you, this is one of the reasons I say that, right? So as we get more experience, more G2 on the world out there, we have no one has data like this. Think about it. Think about every tool you know. No one has data like this, and it is going to give you power. It is going to give you real, apologize, but kick-ass operational analytics.
So is this kind of similar to what Profit Sense does?
Similar but different. Yeah, Profit Sense is a fantastic tool. Profit Sense is a fantastic tool, and the guys at Ibis World have a fantastic tool as well. They just happen to be, they are firm. Ibis World, great stuff. They're firmly in the "who moved my cheese? You're trying to steal my lunch money" mindset, and it's not good for them. But they have their business model. They have their way of doing it. I happen to disagree, but it's working for them. Profit Sense is a great tool. There are a bunch out there. So, and again, being a platform, if you want to use RMA, you want to use Profit Sense, how do we help you use the tools that you want to use in a way that's going to be accretive to your clients' goals, profits, value, ease of operation. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. I really do have to.
We'll let you go now, George.
I'm just going to show up. I'm going to ad lib it in my next. I'm joking. I just have to get somewhere, and it's okay. All right, guys. All right. Thank you. Joe's back in his car. Now we recognize you, man. Listen, thank you, each of you, and I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk with you soon. All right, be well. Paul, talk soon, man. Bye. Larry.